Today's date is July 22nd, 2024. My name is Bill Arnold, and this is an oral history interview with John Zippo. We are currently located in South Chatham, Massachusetts. John,
Correct.
please state your full name and spell it for us.
John Solomon Zippo. John. John Solomon, Solomon, Zippo, Zippo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
John, tell us where you were born.
I was born in Billings, Montana in 1924.
What do you remember about Billings at that time?
I remember quite a bit, and it was all wonderful, all great. I had a terrific childhood. I consider that a childhood that a lot of people would give their right arm for. It was just great. I had the Yellowstone River was not too far away to go fishing in very often. We had the Black Hills. We had the hills that we could climb. We had the Rocky Mountains. We found old Indian caves with actual arrowheads in the ground, but not after digging up a little bit, and hiking grounds. Billings had much to offer for a youngster.
What are a few stories from your childhood uh, that would illustrate to us what you were like as a child?
Uh, Being the oldest and with a father who appointed his oldest son, which was me, to be a guardian for his brothers, which I had four younger brothers and two younger sisters. Excuse me. And my dad always told me that when he's not here, I'm in charge. He said, you got to watch out for your brothers and your sisters. So I accepted that job because it gave me a little bit of power over my siblings.
Yeah. Well, how many siblings did you have?
Uh, Four brothers and two sisters. Uh, Four brothers who were all adventurous, like myself, and we did many, many things together, such as hiking or climbing in these old Indian caves and going fishing, stealing watermelons,
Stealing watermelons, huh?
eating watermelons, and it was just a childhood that I know people would be very, very envious of if they had been in that area because it was just great. We didn't have anything. There was no money. It was during the Depression. In fact, we never got a Christmas present. Our Christmas present was an elaborate meal, and that was our gift to us for being good children.
Do you remember any of those meals? What they were?
Uh, my family, my dad was Italian. Came over here by himself when he was 16 years old, and he brought his Italian roots with him, and loved macaroni and cheese, whatnot. And he never drank. I never saw my father take a drink in his life. Not until he became older, and then he was told by the doctor to take one shot of whiskey per night before bed, which he did. But he never abused it. That was not one of his things. He was a very, very good man, religious, as was my mother. My mother was very, very religious. In fact, she enjoyed sitting in her rocker and reciting poems to us or old songs that she knew from when she was a child, and was all sung to us in German because that was where she was. She wasn't born in Germany; she was born in Russia, but her family's history was all from Frankfurt, Germany. But that's another story.
Well, how did if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how your mother from Russia, your father from Italy. How did they meet each other in
Well,
Billings, Montana?
uh, on my mother's side, Her father, they had a large family. They had promised, or exacted a promise from the Tsar of Russia, because that's where they moved. When they left Frankfurt, they went to Russia near the Vodka River because they had a soil there that was comparable to what they had in Germany, and because they were sugar beet farmers. It took a certain amount of a certain type of soil to be a good, successful sugar beet farmer. And my dad came over here when he was 16 years old by himself and migrated, got a job at the railroad, I guess. I never asked him about that. And started laying track for the North, I can't think of the name of the railroad. But anyhow, he was laying track, and I guess he saw my mom in the field on the farm there, and they must have waved to each other and got to know each other and became sweethearts. My mother's father was a very prejudiced man. Didn't like Italians because he considered them black, and they didn't deserve any treatment better than the blacks were receiving. But my mom and dad, they fell in love. They were determined to be with each other, and they eloped. Got married by a preacher outside, and went to rail to raise their family. My grandmother was a very, very nice person. Not like my grandfather was tough. He didn't like his kids because we were from a black father, and so that ruled us out as far as he was concerned. My grandmother was a different story. She loved us as much as my mother did. And when I went out there on summer vacation to help out as an extra hand, hoeing and doing stuff on the farm, I always look forward to that. Being with my grandfather was just impossible, I guess. He had his mind made up where we were at, and of course I had coal black hair, brown eyes, as compared to his family were all blonde and blue-eyed, so I was in a different category than my cousins. But he was a good man. He didn't hurt us or anything like that. But my grandma, because of the depression in the area, Dad was having a hard time making a living to feed his big family. And my grandmother, she had a huge garden that was all hers, and she would help us out with vegetables, watermelon. She used to bring watermelon all the time, and took care of us, give us extra strudels or whatnot. So that was always great. Uh, but at 14 years of age, we moved out of Montana to New York, where my dad had a uncle, and went to see him to see if he could get some money from him to move to New York and start over again. And
This was during the Depression.
during the Depression.
Uh-huh.
And my my dad's uncle was not too happy about his nephew coming to ask him for money. That he was tight, really tight. But he gave in to my father's asking and loaned him some money, enough to get another store built, and then bring us all to New York. And we left Montana in 1920, when I was 24, 34, 38, 1938. And I didn't go to school much anymore because they needed me for an extra worker in the place around there, which I did finally got a job in a defense plant.
What was the defense plant manufacturing?
They manufactured submarine radios.
Okay, and that was in New York.
And New York, yeah. And I did that. I was paid 65 cents an hour. Excuse me. And got a horrible shift, which was like 6 o'clock in the evening until 5:30 the next morning. So I worked 10 hours a night, 6 days a week, and wasn't allowed to touch my envelope. The way I got it from the cashier, it's the way I had to bring it home to my mom and give it to her. And then she would give me like 50 cents a day to go to work and for subway fare. Subway was 5 cents. We had a diner on 33rd Street and 8th Avenue that had specials every night. Like you could get meatloaf and potatoes for 25 cents, or a piece of chicken and whatever comes with it, all 25 cents. So I'd have 25 cents for that, 10 cents for the Subway, and I would have 15 cents left over that I could buy something with it, whatever my heart desired. And I did that until 1942, when I had a friend of mine from a school house that I knew for years, and we were both in our 18th year and he said to me one day, "What do you say, John, we join the Air Force?" Because we were both wanting to fly in the worst way. So I said yes. We went down to Grand Central Station in Manhattan. That's where they had a recruiting station, and went in there to offer our services. So we had to go through a whole rigmarole of checking our health, whatnot, which meant going into the building there with about 300 other guys, strip all of your clothing off, and walk around this 3-story facility facility they had. And we both passed our physical, were sworn in, and told to go home, put your affairs in order, because in 3 days we'll send you a notice and you'll be taken out, which we did. And they sent us to Long Island, New York, to Camp Upton, which is now a national cemetery. And we were there I was there for 2 weeks. I left Tony behind there, and he shipped. Oh no, I'm sorry. We both shipped out together to Miami Beach, Florida. Went in cattle cars and down there to Florida. Nobody knew where we were going until one guy had said he remembered on a train ride. He says, "We're going to Florida. We're going to Florida." So nobody believed him. But the next day, there we were in Miami Beach, Florida.
Did you leave behind your home and did you have pets, or tell me about when you